ॐ कूजन्दं राम रामेति मधुरं मधुराक्षरम् आरुह्य कविताशाखां वन्दे वाल्मीकिकोकिलम् यस्य ज्ञानप्रभवमतुलं रामचन्द्रस्य मोहं दूरीकृत्वा सकलजगदामद्वयं घोषितं च तं योगीन्द्रं निगमनिलयं ब्रह्मणः पुत्ररूपम् आनन्दाब्धिं गुरुवरमहं श्रीवसिष्ठं प्रपद्ये. Namaste. Welcome to yet another episode of Yoga Vasishta colloquium, brought to you by Tadvanam Ashramam, Kalladikkode, Palakkad. This is a unique venture by Kalladikkode Tadvanam Ashramam to propagate the message of Yoga Vasishta, and through that the message that India carries for the world. In yesterday's session, we discussed about how the Yoga Vasishta, the word originates, how the text in itself took form, and the story behind this magnificent text. Sri Ramachandra, who is the ideal of every human being, at one stage he gets dejected and depressed by looking at the world. He is determined to negate the world, and his physical and mental conditions are completely distressed. At this stage, he was summoned to the court by Dasharatha when sage Vishwamitra arrives and asks for Rama to help in killing the demons who were destroying his yajna or sacrifice. Rama comes to the court and he bursts out all his anguish that has been eating his mind, and the whole Jagat dosha, the problems of the world, are being exposed by Rama in the first episode that we saw. This is the nature of a true Vairagi, a person who has understood that the world is not real and the real is something else. But he doesn't get the way, the path to set himself into the realization of how the world operates. This is a great dilemma, and this is something which Rama was undergoing at the age of 15 or 16. Now, after Rama expresses his mind, Vishwamitra, with a small laughter, he tells Rama that, "Hey Rama, this situation of the mind is actually not an ailment which needs cure. It is a boon that you have got such deep vairagya at this young age. All that you need is the right advice from your guru to get your peace of mind." Even after listening to every shastra, every science, you wouldn't get the peace of mind unless you cultivate those teachings in your own life and try to understand it from your own experience. Even beyond that is required an assurance from a guru about what you have known. This is something which is unique, and the problem that you are facing is that you have known the silliness of the world, you have understood the transient nature of the world, you have determined that the world is not the right thing that you should be discussing about, but it is about the self that you should be discussing. These are great qualities, and Rama, just like Shuka, you also would be able to understand this real nature of a world in due course. Now Rama was curious. He asked, okay, may I know this story of Shuka? How and what went through him and how he came out of it? Vishwamitra said, certainly. Shuka was the son of Vyasa. It is believed that at the time of his birth itself, he was endowed with knowledge. And he still studied all the scriptures, and through various scholars, teachers, he learned all the Vedas and Vedangas, Upavedas, every knowledge that was available at that point of time. And he not only did that, he did the penance, he practiced the Vedantic knowledge, and he came to a stage where he knew everything that was to be known. Now, the problem that he faced was he was not having peace of mind. Even after doing all these things, he was not at peace. What could that be? He went to his father, Vyasa, and Vyasa said that, Shuka, you have attained what you should be knowing. And Vyasa said that you have attained what most of the people doesn't know. Let me hear what you have learned, and I'll clarify that. And Shuka said that this world that you see around you is actually nothing but a wave in the ocean of Brahman. It is nothing but a bubble in the ocean of Brahman. There is nothing here that you see apart from Brahman. There is nothing to be perceived other than Brahman. And that Brahman is you, your consciousness. What you understand by negating all that you are seeing, what remains after negating everything that you see, negating your mind and intellect, what remains is Brahman, and that is your consciousness. You can negate everything that you see. You can negate the sounds that you hear. The people with certain mental conditions would see what are not real. So you cannot completely believe your eyes, your senses. Your mind takes you to dreams or makes you feel things that are not real. So you cannot believe the mind. All that you can be sure of is about your own existence, your own consciousness. Even when you are asleep, This consciousness is present and you are aware of that. This awareness of I is the primal cause that has resulted in this universe. The whole world is actually a mirage that comes in the desert. A person who knows that it is a mirage doesn't run after that. He doesn't go behind the mirage in search of water. Rather, he will steadily walk towards the place where he can find the water. The same way, a person who has realized that this world is unreal will not be tempted by it. It cannot act as a stimulus for his work. He will be God-headed and he would be completely composed and calm. And I have learned that the ultimate aim of every human life is to attain this state of mind, where the mind itself will evade and leaving behind the only cause, the only reason for the whole world to exist, which is your own consciousness. So the whole world is contained in this single seed called bodha or consciousness. I have further learned that there are multiple ways of attaining this, and through each way, if you sincerely follow that, you will be able to achieve what the yogis, what the jnanis, what the bhaktas would achieve. Everything culminates at the same point. That center is yourself. This world is actually a Brahma, an illusion, which is created by your mind. The mind goes on imagining about what it likes or dislikes based on its vasana. And as the mind imagines, the world gets created. Hence, I know that these are unreal and what real is the self. I know that these are not to be taken seriously, but the self has to be taken seriously. I know that the world is illusory and if you run behind it, you will never end. I know that I am the self which is neither born nor dead. I know that I am. By saying so, Shuka stood silent. And Vyasa thought, okay, you have learnt everything that you need to. There is nothing further that I know. Then why do you come here? And Shuka says, I have known everything, but somehow I don't find the peace of mind. Okay. Then better you go to a country called Videha. In that country, the king Janaka rules. So go to Janaka. Janaka is a person who has both knowledge and karma. So go to him and ask the same question. So Shuka proceeds. Shuka goes on and reaches Videha, where he gets to the gate and the gatekeeper stops him, asks him who he was, and he says, I am Shuka, I want to meet King Janaka. The news went to Janaka. Janaka said, let him wait. He made Shuka to wait for 7 days outside the gates of the palace. Shuka stood there without any any problem or showing any kind of unrest. After 7 days, he was let into the palace and asked him to wait there. 7 more days he waited inside the palace on the outskirts. Then he was taken into the inner palace, where for 7 days he was treated with all the luxury that was available in the kingdom. The girls, the wines, the food, whatever was present, the best of them were given to him to enjoy. He stood there without any consideration for them for 7 more days. After 21 days, Janaka invites him to the court. With great reverence, with great pleasure, Janaka invites him to the court, and Janaka says that, "Oh dear Shuka, at this tender age you have achieved impossible. I was testing you for the last 21 days and you have successfully passed, which most of the people fail. You are indeed a son who will make your father proud. What brings you here?" And Shuka says, "I have learned whatever needs to be learned and whatever needs to be known, I have known. But I don't have the peace of mind." So Janaka asks, "Okay, tell me what you have learned." And Shuka again tells the same story, that the world is illusory, and whatever he has told to his father. Janaka said, "Yes, this is it." But then Shuka was confused. He said, "If this was the only thing, why am I not sure of it? Why am I not convict? I don't have a conviction on that. And if this is it, why am I not getting peace?" So Janaka once again reaffirmed whatever Shuka already knew. He said, this whole world is filled with bodha or consciousness. In that bodha, the mind assumes that there is the scene, and it does happen. In the mind comes the drishya sankalpa, the imagination of the scene, and the scene does occur. This is how the world is being woven. And this, if by any chance people can control their mind and remove the thoughts from it, they will see that there is nothing called the world. There are multiple ways to achieve this. First one is the Raja Yoga, where you control the mind. In Yoga Sutras, Patanjali says, the Chitta Vritti Nirodha is yoga. We discussed about that. So, if by any means, if you can control the Chitta Vrittis, then you will achieve that. But it is very difficult, because it involves a lot of physical and mental kriyas, actions to be performed before you achieve that. For people in the world, the best way is to keep the Brahma Abhyasa active. You have to have a strong conviction that the Brahma is the real one. Only Brahman is the real one. there is nothing second. Everything that you see is Brahman. It will be difficult during the initial days to assume this. But start from the easier place. Always try to keep your mind balanced. The problem is that the mind is always swinging between the dualities and the dvandvas. And the mind always becomes unrest because of that. If by any chance you can avoid this swinging, then you can catch hold of the mind. In Gita, Bhagavan says, there is no doubt that the moving mind is difficult to grab. But then you have two tools to do that, Abhyasa and Vairagya. So do this Abhyasa and bring that equality within the mind. Be it happiness or sadness, you should remain at compose. Be it heat or cold, be it for that matter any duality, if you can maintain your mental state in a neutral position, then that is the biggest achievement that you can get. Look into the Sthita Prajna Lakshana in chapter 2 of Bhagavad Gita. It says almost the same thing in different ways. It calls this person as Sthita Prajna, one whose intellect is steady and stable. So, Shuka, these are the basic fundamentals that you already know. And I am assuring you that you have known everything that you need to know. Somehow, with this assurance, Shuka gets his mental peace. Now, this message, this story has some significance because whatever you learn, whatever you understand, whatever you perceive, everything is driven by your own intellect and your own mind. What lacks, even after attaining all this knowledge, is the conviction that this is the place where I should be. For this, you need a guru. A guru would let you know that yes, you have understood what you are experiencing is the place where you should be. This is something very unique. Say for example, you are taking the help of Google Map when you are navigating to a certain place. You do not know the place, and when you arrive, the map says you have arrived at your destination. Right? This journey that you are undertaking here is into a spiritual terrain where you have not exposed yourself to. So in order to make sure that you have arrived, you have reached the destination, there needs to be somebody who already have reached, who already know, who already understands what are the external signs that would indicate the realization. Here in this matter, it was Janaka who just simply assured. He didn't do any great Upadesha which Shuka didn't know. He just gave a reassurance, and Shuka was completely devoid of all his doubts. And Vishwamitra says, "O Rama, this is your problem too. You have gone to the school, understood everything, and you have taught yourself, and you have come to certain conclusions. Now you need an assurance from somebody, and that will resolve your issue. Who is there better than Guru Vasishta to advise you? And from now on, this story is being driven by the discussion between Rama and Vasishta, and hence Yoga Vasishta. Now Vasishta was asked to advise, and he starts off saying that I am your Guru, but there are multiple other people who are present in here who can do this better than me. But when the great sage Vishwamitra asks me to do, I have no choice but to adhere to that and to ensure that I do my best to advise you. So Rama, whatever you have understood is absolutely correct. The world is driven by the mind. The mind is driven by the vasana. Vasanas are the impressions that are created by actions of this birth or the previous birth in the mind. And these vasanas will keep you in this cycle, this vicious cycle. How? The vasana gives birth to karma. The vasanas will make you think as you would want. The vasanas will make inclinations to your decision making. It will affect you, it will impact you. The vasanas will decide who you want to see or who you do not want to see. The vasanas decides every characteristics that you possess, and from there the actions arise. The actions leads to another set of vasanas, and hence it goes on. So a person who wants to get out of this cycle of birth and death, he has to first accept the Shubha Vasana or the Shuddha Vasana and reject the Ashubha Vasana or Malina Vasana. Shubha Vasana or Shuddha Vasana is the pure Vasana, pure impressions. Ashubha, Ashuddha, Malina Vasanas are the impure impressions. The impure impressions are the greed, the attraction, the anger. All these characteristics are your nature. These arise because of the Ashuddha Vasana. Ashuddha Vasana is being nurtured by the feeling of I and mine. Ashuddha Vasana always ties you to the world. It wants you to grab more. It wants you to have more. It wants you to look at others with suspicion. Ashuddha Vasana is the reason for a man's downfall. On the other hand, Shuddha Vasanas are the pure impressions. The mental state of kindness, generosity, equality, happiness, these are Shubha Vasanas. You have to possess them if you want to get rid of the Ashubha Vasana. If you can negate all the Vasanas at once, that is well and good. That is more than happy. I will be more than happy to see that. But most people does not have that courage to do that. So you will have to slowly do it by accepting Shubhavasanas, cultivating the virtues that are needed in your life, and thereby reducing the Ashubhavasana, Ashuddhavasana, all your wrong impressions. These are called as Devi Sampat and Asuri Sampat in Bhagavad Gita. Devi Sampat Vimokshaya Nibandhaya Asuri Mata. Devi Sampat is for the liberation and Asuri Sampat is for the bondage. So these impressions, the Shubhavasana has to be cultivated by person if he wants to get liberated. And as the Shubhavasana grows more and more stronger, the Ashubhavasana goes weaker. You will find more happiness in what you currently are. You will be happier than ever. But then later on, these Shubhavasanas also have to be given away. Now naturally there will be a question. Are you saying the kindness and all these good virtues have to be given away? Have to be thrown out? Yes. According to Indian philosophy, any thought, be it good or bad, is a thought. And there is a mind. If there is a mind, there is world. You are accepting something which is unreal. Doing good to others, say for example, being kind, philanthropic. Are you accepting that there is somebody else by doing the philanthropy? If you are, then you are accepting duality. You are accepting that this world exists. You are accepting something which is unreal, which according to the ultimate principle is wrong. You are again falling into the same loop, but with the benefit that you are doing more good than what you were able to do earlier. But at some point, if you want to realize yourself, which is the ultimate good that you can do for humanity, and I tell this with all seriousness and authority, the ultimate good that you can do to humanity is to realize yourself. If you can do that, then for that you need to remove all the vasanas, including the Shubhavasana, the urge to do good to others. Even that is not good. The urge to get moksha, at some point later in the Yoga Vasishta again it comes, that your desire for moksha itself is a hindrance to the moksha. Swamiji again and again quotes this, Swami Vivekananda. Your desire to moksha is a desire. Still again a thought. It is a duality. If you desire something, then you would have to hate something else. Which might be that your laziness or which drives you back from getting or achieving moksha. But still both are equally harmful when you want to realize the self. Bhagavan Sri Ramakrishna says, like how you take a thorn out of your foot using another thorn, and you do not keep the second thorn because it helped you to take out the other thorn which had entered your foot, you wouldn't keep it thinking that, oh, this did a great favor to me. You would throw both the thorns away after you take it out, isn't it? The same way, the Ashubhavasana has to be taken out and replaced by Shubhavasana, and then both have to be thrown away. For this you need courage. Courage to the ultimate core. Paurusha, that is the word which is being used. You need the manliness, the Paurusha, the courage to negate things that your mind wants you to take, and say, I wouldn't. You have to have that courage to go beyond what the social status or your social and economic background makes you to do things. You have to negate them and go beyond. You have to have that courage to even tell your very dear and near ones the truth that might hurt them. You have to have the courage to live with them, but having inside no attachment whatsoever to them. You have to have that courage to go beyond what other normal people would go and inquire about the real nature of the self. You have to have that courage. You have to have that courage to question your own existence and understand the real nature of your essence. If you have that, then you will negate both the vasanas, and once the vasana akshaya happens, then you would not have to bother anymore. Because the mind is pure, the pure mind subsides with no thought, and the self will be available. Sulabham. It is as simple to grab. The Shastras keep saying it. You are putting all the effort in vain just to realize that this was not needed. All the effort is being put to know that this didn't require this much of effort. And all this effort is being put just for realizing that this whole thing was created by the self, and there is nothing beyond that. If you can understand this at the very outset, you have nothing else to do. But for most of us, our ignorance, our vasanas are so thick that we will have to clean them slowly, and it is assured in these texts that you will never fall down. You will start again from the place where you stopped. Name bhakta pranashyati. There is no downfall for a person who has set foot on this path. So you progress as much as you can, and from there you move on. So Vasishta continues, O Rama, dirgha samsara rogasya vicharohi mahaushadham. For this long ailment of samsara, the best cure is vichara. Vichara is the thought. You have to think about the reality and non-reality. What is real, what is unreal? What is seen and what is to be seen? There are multiple vichara paths. There is drishya vichara, where you will see the seer. So what sees you is my eye, and what sees the eye is my mind, and what sees the mind is my intellect, and what sees the intellect is me. I can just touch on these because those in itself are huge topics to cover. So there are multiple ways of vicharas. So you have to do that vichara. You have to always continue doing that vichara until you realize the Turiya Avastha. Turiya Avastha is the fourth state. You have the deep sleep, Sushupti, dream, which is Swapna, Jagrat, which is the waking state, and the Turiya. In the Turiya Avastha, the mind will not be there, you will be awake and you would realize this world in a different perspective as Sarvam Brahmayam. So Vasishta says that this is the only way in which you can achieve this. This is called the Brahmabhyasa too. Brahmabhyasa is the vichara only. Whatever you see, assume yourself seeing Brahman. If you can do that, then you are going to surely understand that that itself is the reality. Many teachers have told this to us in various ways, that you have to keep thinking this world as some teachers say as the Leela of Bhagavan or the God, right? The play of the God. Some say it in different ways. Say Jesus Christ has told, love your neighbor as thyself. How is it possible? Without knowing who yourself are, to love your neighbor as yourself. You haven't known yourself, and then how can you love somebody as yourself? And even if you want to do that, unless you see yourself in them, unless you negate the duality between you and your neighbor, this is not going to happen. So every advice by great spiritual masters in the world have pointed towards it. It's just that we need to have that real sense of understanding to grab the content or essence from it. In Yoga Vasishta, but it is not cryptic. It is clearly written as the sunlight. It has no other confusion. It doesn't bend to make you happier. It cuts all your preconceived notions without a mercy, and straight directly leads you to the path and places you there. Now then it's up to you whether you want to do it or not. So Vasishta says, Vicharohi Mahaushadham, and Tavad Vicharayet Prajna. One has to do the Vichara until one realizes that one starts seeing self everywhere. Vasudeva Sarvamiti. The same, if one attains that particular state, the Turiya Avastha, then you can stop Vichara. Because at that point of time, the Vichara itself becomes a hindrance to do this Sahaja Anubhuti or natural Nirvikalpa Samadhi. So Vasishta continues this advice, and within that there is a gem of a advice, a piece, a sloka that probably you might have heard because it is being quoted at various places, but most of the people who quote this doesn't know that this is taken out from Yoga Vasishta. Some scriptures have that problem. It will be quoted at multiple places but without knowing the author. So at least next time when you hear it, you would know that this was one of the towering philosophical and logical advice that no other philosophy has dared to give to its followers, its disciples, except Indian philosophies. Yukti yuktam upadeyam vachanam balakadapi anyat trinamiva tyajyam apyuktam padmajanmana. Yukti yuktam upadeyam vachanam balakadapi. Even from a child, balakadapi, if he says something that is logical, that is rational, you have to take it. And the second part, anyat, anything else, anything irrational, illogical, even if that is being said by the creator of the world, you should reject it like a straw, like a blade of grass. So when he says the creator of the world, he includes himself also. If I say something that doesn't suit your rationale, that doesn't make sense to you, that is illogical, negate it, throw it away. I don't mind. At the end of the day, you have to be truthful to yourself. You have to clearly understand what you are being told. If you cannot, it becomes a weight on you. Maybe you are not fit for it. Maybe you are not matured enough for it. Maybe this is not your nature. Maybe this is not the path. Negate it. Reject it without mercy. Which other philosophy has shown this courage? To tell its disciple, to tell its follower that if I do something wrong, if I say something which doesn't suit your logical reasoning, reject it. At least I haven't heard any such philosophy which has dared to do this. In Bhagavad Gita also you would see this. Vimrshcheta daseshena yathechasi tatha guru. Do what you please. Yatha ichhasi tatha guru. You critically analyze what I told. Bhagavan Sri Krishna tells to Arjuna. You critically analyze what I told and then do what you please. This has not imposed any dogmas on anybody. This philosophy, this land has never told anybody to believe without questioning. All these Upanishadic courses are question answers between gurus and shishyas. Even this Yoga Vasishta is the question answer between, the dialogue between Rama and Vasishta. It is not a monologue. So please have this verse written somewhere. If you can by heart it, do that. Also remember that this is from Yoga Vasishta. And keep practicing this. Take what your rationale can fit into. Take the logical things. Reject anything apart from that. This has been the eternal message that has been given by India for centuries. And Yoga Vasishta again repeats the same message. So please have this very this verse broadened over. Now Vasishta continues with the Utpatti Prakarana, where he tells how this world is originating from the Bodha. So the Bodha is there, then there is a layer of Sankalpa, and then there is a layer of Drishya. So the consciousness, the imagination, and the scene. So what Indian philosophers did was, they tried to remove this middle layer to see what happens. And they found that when the middle layer, the Sankalpa, is changed or removed things change or remove. How? The same way as a person who is a goldsmith would see everything, bangle, ring, everything as gold. The same way, if you can see everything as Brahman, then you will get that. Another way is the negation. So one way is to accept everything, another way is to negate everything. So the negation, neti. So a person enters into the room of his father at the night, and he is not able to see anything. So he goes by his touch. He touches each and every object in the room and says, no, not this, and not this, not this, not this, not this. And finally, when he touches his father, he says, yes, he is. Here he is. The same way, the Netivada or that Vichara Marga is negating whatever is unreal and finally attaining what is real. So when you negate the body, the mind, is the mind myself? No, because when the thoughts are there, not there, the mind is not there. But I still am here. So my consciousness is there. So mind cannot be me. My understanding that I am is there when I sleep. In deep sleep, mind is not there, but I still am. How is that possible if mind is the cause or the self? Is the body self? Definitely not. So they go step by step by negating things until they reach the Atman, the self, the consciousness. So this is another path. The Brahman and the world are compared as the sea and the waves. When the wave of the thought, when the wind of the thought comes, the waves arise. When the wind stops, the wave subsides. The same way, the thoughts keep coming, the Brahman gives rise to the waves of the world, waves of the anubhavas or the experiences, worldly experiences. Once you can stop the waves, stop the wind, which is the thoughts, the waves will subside. The world will subside. So, the world and the Brahman, are they the same? Yes. Are they different? Yes. Because one is unreal and another is real. So these are the ways in which the Vedantins go about inquiring about the real nature of the world. The world, the jiva or the self which is born in this body is actually the result of this illusion of duality. It causes birth and death for this jiva until it realizes that it is the self. Once it realizes, then all the vasanas will die away and then only that life continues. It is said in Vedantic texts as sambhrishta bijavat. When you fry a seed, it loses its power to germinate again. Likewise, the people who have realized their karmas will be without vasanas. They will be only doing karma for the prarabdha or by chance. And there won't be any thought or any mind behind or likes or dislike behind doing that. So you might see some people even after attaining liberation living in the world like a normal life, but then that is not to be misunderstood as something which they are doing for with some desire or vasana behind it. It is like you have a fan, and even after you switch it off, it will rotate for some more time, right? The same way, the inertia keeps rotating it until the body falls. So the only thing that makes you bonded to the world is that there is something which is more than Brahman, existent. This is the major cause and the only cause for your bondage. And the liberation is the getting rid of this thought and accepting that Brahma Satyam Jagan Mithya Jivo Brahmaiva Napara. Now, these people who have understood this are called Jivan Muktas, who do not carry any kind of impressions or vasana in their mind, and their body would be just continuing for finishing the prarabdhas that they have to go through. At this stage, Rama started understanding a bit about how this whole things work, and Rama was curious about knowing about the existence or how this world behaves, how this came to existence and how this behaves. And to make Rama realize how this world behaves, Vasishta starts narrating a story. This is called Leelobakhyana, or the story of Leela. In a country, in a kingdom, there lived a pious and noble and very kind and just king named Padma. Padma had Leela as his wife. Leela was a very devoted wife. She would be happy when her husband is happy, and she would be afraid of any displeasure to her husband. So they lived for years together in that country, and one day a thought came into the mind of Leela that I want to continue this forever. I want to be with my husband forever, and is there a way? So she asked to bring all the priests in the country and the people who have learnt the scriptures, and asked this question to them that what is the way to avoid death? Now the priests told that we can extend it, we can do things to preserve the body, but we cannot avoid death. Death is inevitable, O Queen. So there is no way that one can get rid of the death. So this was not the answer that Leela wanted. So understanding that the priests would not be able to help her, she started doing a great penance. She would not eat for days together, and she would just do enough to keep her body maintained. This penance went on for 300 days, and goddess Saraswati appears before her. The goddess appears in all her majestic form and blesses Leela. Leela was very happy to see goddess in front of her, and goddess Saraswati asks Leela to ask boons. So Leela asks, I want two boons. First, that I want my husband's jiva not to leave this room when he is gone. I want him to be present in this room, and I want to be always in his presence. And second, I want to see you whenever I wish to see you. So Saraswati says, okay, I understand that you are very much eager to not leave your husband. So once your husband's jiva, life, departs from its body, keep the body preserved with flowers. It wouldn't decay. And in due course of time, you would be able to reunite with your husband. And this was of great satisfaction and pleasure to Queen Leela. So that story ends there. Saraswati disappears and years pass by, where always Leela was thinking that she would be the first to die and then there won't be any problem. But unfortunately it so happened that Padma had to leave the body before Leela. How was Leela able to reunite with her husband? Was she able to preserve the body? And what are the mystical things that she finds out when she goes on a journey to identify the truth behind this jiva taking birth and death? These are interesting stories that you would always want to remember and always want to remind yourself. With these stories, we would come tomorrow at the same time. So please stay focused. Think about the advices that were given by Vasishta, and until we meet again, Namaste, Hari Om Tat Sat.